A Mother's Wish by Dilly Court. Read by Annie Aldington. Chapter 1. 3 Mills, East London, 1870. The last sack of grain swung perilously over Effie's head as it was hoisted into the house mill on the banks of the River Lee. The narrowboat rose a little higher in the water, as if relieved to be divested of its heavy cargo, and a thick layer of dust settled on the decking like a generous coating of sugar on a sticky bun. Effie held her hand to her aching back, peering into the gathering gloom to catch sight of Tom, her younger brother, who'd gone to collect their horse Champion from the patch of waste ground nearby. "Tom!" Effie shouted, cupping her hands around her mouth in an attempt to make her voice carry above the splashing of the water wheel and the grinding of the millstone, which was silenced only at low tide. "Tom, we're ready to move." A faint answering cry confirmed that he'd heard her, and from the cabin, the high-pitched wailing of her infant son made Effie forget everything other than the need to tend to her child. Despite the fact that she'd been on her feet since dawn, navigating the vessel through seemingly endless locks on its journey from the Essex countryside to 3 Mills, it only needed a plaintive cry from Georgie to galvanise her tired limbs into action. She made her way along the empty deck to the cabin, and a wave of heat from the cast-iron stove hit her forcibly as she opened the door. She stepped down into the confined space where the family lived cheek by jowl. Privacy was not a familiar word in the lives of canal people. Her father-in-law looked up, scowling. "You took your time with the unloading," he grumbled. "You need to see to the child. You can't expect me to run around after young Georgie now he's toddling. It's woman's work." "I'm sorry, father-in-law," Effie murmured, biting back a sharp retort, "but I can't be in 2 places at the same time." "That's enough backchat from you, girl. I may be a cripple, but I'm still the boss round here." Jacob Grey fumbled in his pocket, producing a battered tin snuff box from which he took a pinch of the brown powder and inhaled deeply. He wiped the excess off his upper lip with a handkerchief that might once have been white, but was so stained with snuff that its colour matched that of the polished wooden bulkhead. "That young limb has had his fingers in everything," he added, glaring at his grandson. "Georgie's just a baby," Effie protested, bending down to scoop her 18-month-old son up in her arms. "What took you so long?" Jacob's eyes watered, and he sniffed, wiping his nose again, and eyeing Effie with a scornful curl of his lips. "I wouldn't put it past you to be sizing up the next man now that my boy's gone to his maker. I always said you're a conniving trollop." "Mama?" Tears welled up in Georgie's blue eyes, and he wrapped his chubby arms around his mother's neck. "There's no need to raise your voice, father-in-law. You're scaring Georgie." Effie held her child close, stroking his soft brown curls away from his forehead. There, darling. It's all right." "Don't change the subject." Jacob glared at her with a belligerent outthrust of his whiskery chin. "What have you been doing all this time?" Effie held her breath, mentally counting to 10, as she faced her father-in-law's overt antagonism with an attempt at a smile. "There was a full load. I couldn't leave Tom to see to it on his own. He's only a boy." "He's 13, Jacob snapped. "My Owen was working the boat from the age of 10. He was a wonderful son, and he could have done better for himself than marrying a girl from the workhouse." The accusation hit a nerve, drawing a swift response from Effie. "If I was in the workhouse, it was through no fault of me own." "You're a barmaid, and that's even worse. You set your cap at Owen because you thought you'd have an easy life with him. And you would have, if you
Sample complete. Ready to continue?